皆さんこんにちは、ジャズミンレアです。5年間ぐらい日本語を勉強して、いつもアジアの文化と言語の興味があったんです。そして最近韓国語と中国語を自分で勉強しています。But today I'm gonna do my best to walk you through my Japanese language notes that date back as early as March 2015 and until literally yesterday. もちろん日本語で説明しようとします。よろしくね。2015年に私の家庭教師は GCSE 日本語を教えてくれた。This is one of the folders that I used, and unfortunately I think I threw away 2 other really old ones because I just didn't have the space at the time. As you can see, this folder starts from my late beginner level. もうひらがなとカタカナをしていたからです。While I enjoyed kanji, I would say that grammar really confused me more because of the nature of Japanese sentence structure. しかし、私のレッスンの裁量の部分はこれの素晴らしいフラッシュカードだった。Learning so many words was helpful when it came to all of the multiple choice questions on the past paper. I think it was my Japanese weekly study routine where you guys saw this practice book, and I wanted to highlight again that my handwriting wasn't always perfect, and neither were my exercises. This second book is from 2016, where my handwriting got a little bit better, and I stopped using furigana for basic texts.2018年まで同じ家庭教師を持った A レベル日本語も教えてくれた。I used a lot more resources studying for AS Japanese because of how intense sixth form is. I carried on the vocabulary flashcard theme during this time too. By the time I finished AS Japanese, 350 kanji を知りました。That's including 150 from GCSE. Here's an example of a reading exercise. And here is an example of a grammar point from I think either Genki or Japanese for Young People. And of course, past papers were crucial to my studies so that I could understand how the test works, but since it was the same exam board, it was a little easier. Here's a flick through of what my notes used to look like. あの時、最初に語彙を学んだ方がいいと思ったんです。Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to understand grammar point example sentences. And it's honestly a pain to constantly look up the meaning of words. This time I had a particular interest in the map of Japan and prefecture names, which slightly connected to my focus on kanji in this notebook, and my realization that I could take the N5. I grouped kanji by radical or similarities and tried to tell a story for most of them in order to remember them. 漢字と語彙を終わった時、I started to focus on grammar and it was super intense. I also revisited some kanji. But in order to make sure that I truly remembered the kanji, I printed out and hand cut these flashcards. I used this Gengo workbook to write some essays and compositions, some workbooks with smaller squares and larger squares with space to write furigana for harder compositions. As I learned more intricate kanji, I had to develop my handwriting once again. In the end, I got an A in GCSE Japanese and a C in AS Japanese. 日本語 GCSE と A レベルのおかげで日本語力試験 N5 を合格することができた。もう漢字が全部ほとんどの文法ポイントもしていたんです。I was also in love with purple for some reason and my handwriting got a lot better. The only difficult part in the exam was the listening section. I started studying for the N4 straight after I passed the N5 and I actually missed the pass mark by 3% because of the listening questions, which was no surprise to me. I started off learning vocabulary from the Nihongo So Matome series and learned them page by page in this Muji notepad. Then I used this one to mainly learn grammar points. I revisited some kanji at the front of the book and ticked off grammar points as I learned them. To be honest, if I did pass the N4 back in 2019, I don't think I was ready for N3. This journal wasn't particularly for N4 studies, but it definitely deserves some recognition for at least maintaining my speaking level. While we were in lockdown during summer 2020, I realised that if I didn't speak to a native, I would be back at a beginner level and waste the time I spent working as a part-timer in a Japanese supermarket. So when I discovered italki, 1週間にコミュニティチューターと3回くらい喋りレッスンした。This was probably one of the best investments I made for my language education after going to university. This takes us to the present, where I'm currently majoring in Japanese. So far, I've gone through 2.5 notebooks in my first year, which isn't fully over yet because I have an end-of-year exam coming up. My course was structured to cater for absolute beginners, which means it was a great refresh on basic Japanese grammar. But it got really advanced really quickly. We had and still have tons of homework, practical and support lessons to maintain our level. This second notebook starts from term 2. To be honest, buying Lewisham notebooks was a little too much, so I've stuck to Oxford ones. Lessons became more intense and I realised that we had already gone through about 300 to 400 kanji, and reading comprehension got much harder because I needed time to read it before the lesson. I also created a study timetable because I needed some serious order. My current notebook is still being used as I'm making this video because I still have just 2 weeks left of uni, which is also known as term 3. At the front I have my exam timetable, an essay due at the end of April, and this amazing grammar information sheet which I'll link down below. Towards the end of term 2, I am forced into loving translation in order to succeed in my reading class, and I also realised I know much more N3 kanji and grammar than I thought since we've gone through more than 500 this year. But this is all in preparation for our final reading and writing exam. Last but not least, you guys have probably seen me use these notebooks in some of my previous videos. While I've technically finished studying for the N4, I've been unable to sign up for the exam in July. This left me feeling really demotivated because of the 3% last time and not knowing whether or not I'll be able to take it at all this year because of COVID. So I feel really stuck and frustrated. But there is no harm in reviewing and perfecting my knowledge. I'm currently using the Nihongo Challenge series to study N4 grammar, and I plan on using the Try series at first for N3 with an italki tutor. I'm actually glad that I'm revisiting N4 again because the Mina no Nihongo series 1 and 2 complements my studies really well and vice versa. Plus, I'm in no rush to pass because language learning isn't meant to be a stressful experience. Thank you guys so much for always watching my videos, and I really hope you enjoyed seeing my evolution of Japanese notes, and maybe I'll do another video like this in the next 5 years. Have an amazing day and I'll see you next week.